Good day everyone, I am Vince Joseph F. Dangkalan and we are the Group 4. So, welcome to our recorded discussion. Today, we'll take you on a journey into one of the most fascinating areas of modern science, which is the nanoworld. So, this world may be invisible to the naked eye, but it plays a massive role in shaping the technology and innovations we use every day. So, when we say nano, we're talking about an incredible small scale, a billion of meters. So imagine dividing a single strand of hair into 100,000 pieces. That roughly is the size we're dealing with in nanotechnology. Even though it's small, the potential of nanotechnology is enormous, influencing fields like medicine, electronics, energy, and even agriculture. So in this discussion, we will focus on understanding what nanotechnology really is and why it's considered one of the key scientific breakthroughs of our time. So we will also explore how scientists and nanoscale and engineers manipulate materials at the nanoscale to create new products with extraordinary properties, a stronger, lighter, and more efficient than ever before. So, as we go through our presentation, we'll see how nanotechnology is transforming the way we live, from advanced medical treatments to everyday consumer products. It's really amazing how something so small can create such a big impact on our world. So lastly, we'll take a closer look at the Philippine context, how our scientists, researchers, and government institutions are working together to explore the possibilities of nanotechnology and how this field can contribute to our nation's development. So, get ready as we dive deep into the unseen universe, which is the nanoworld, where small things lead to big discoveries, and where the future of science begins at the tiniest scale imaginable. So, let's begin our discussion.
So good day everyone, I am Christine Casian Cortero and our topic today is all about nanotechnology. And before we start, let's go over our lesson objectives. These objectives will guide us on what we should be able to understand and explain by the end of this topic. First objective is to define nanotechnology. So what is nanotechnology? Nanotechnology is a branch of science and engineering that deals with things that are extremely small, as in at the atomic or molecular level. Nano actually means 1 billion of meter, so imagine how tiny that is. To give you an idea, 1 nanometer is about 100,000 times smaller than the wind of a strand of hair. In nanotechnology, scientists manipulate materials at the very small scale to create new properties and function. For example, materials can become stronger, lighter, or more efficient when they are engraved at the nanoscale. In short, nanotechnology is like designing and building things atom by atom. It's one of the most advanced technologies we have today, and it's already being used in so many industries. So, second objective is to characterize nanoscale. The term nanoscale refers to the range of size from about 1 to 100 nanometers. At these scales, materials behave differently compared to when they are in the normal or larger form. For example, gold in its normal form looks yellow, but when it's at the nanoscales, it can appear red or purple depending on the particle size. So another example is a carbon. When it's structured differently at nanoscale, it can form carbon nanotubes that are even stronger than steel but much lighter in weight. So characterizing the nanoscale means understanding how materials act or change their properties when they are reduced to the extremely small size. This is very important because it helps scientists and engineers develop new materials that can be more useful and efficient. Next, describe the various use of nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is used in many areas of our lives, sometimes even without us realizing it. In medicine, for example, it used to deliver drugs directly to the specific part of the body. Scientists create nanoparticles that carry medicine straight to the infected cells, which help in treating disease like cancer more effectively and with fewer side effects. In electronics, nanotechnology is used to make devices smaller, faster, and more powerful, like smartphones, computers, and even memory chips. In cosmetics, you might see products like sunscreens or lotion that use nanotechnology so the ingredient can penetrate the skin better and provide long-lasting effects. It also used in environmental protection like creating filters that can remove pollutants or bacteria from water. In agriculture, it helps in developing smart fertilizer that release nutrients slowly and only when we need by the plants. So as we can see, nanotechnology has very wide range of uses that help improve our daily lives and even solve global problems. Fourth object is to discuss the concern on the use of nanotechnology. Even though nanotechnology offers a lot of benefits, there are still some concern or risks that need to be addressed. One major, one major concern in health and safety, because nanoparticles are so tiny, they can easily enter our bodies through the air we breathe or the food we eat. Scientists are still studying whenever this could cause harmful effects on human health. Another concern is the environmental effect. If nanoparticles end up in water or soil, they might affect living organisms or cause pollution that hard to detect and control. There are also the ethical and social concerns, like how this technology might be used or how it could affect job opportunity in the economy. That's why it's important that as we develop nanotechnology, we also make sure it's safe, responsible, and beneficial to everyone. And lastly, explain the status of the use of nanotechnology in the Philippines. Here in the Philippines, nanotechnology is considered a development field. It not just advanced yet as in other countries, like the United States, Japan, or South Korea, but our country is slowly making progress. The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, has been supporting research projects related to nanotechnology, especially in areas like agriculture, energy, and healthcare. For example, Filipino researchers have developed nanomaterials that can help improve water filtration or coatings that can prevent corrosion in metals. There are also university and research institutions that are starting to teach and explore nanotechnology. This means that little by little we are building our capacity, capacity to use this technology in ways that will benefit our local industry and communities. So overall, the Philippines may still be in early stage, but the potential for growth is very high, especially if more students and scientists take interest in this field. By the end of this lesson, we should already be able to define what nanotechnology is, understand what nanoskills mean, know its different use, discuss both its benefit and concern, and explain its current status in the Philippines. Nanotechnology might sound complicated at first, but it's actually very exciting because it shows how small things can make a big impact in our world. And it's a technology that could change the way we live, from the medicine to farming to the gadget we use every day. So now, we proceed the introduction. Nanotechnology refers to the science, engineering, and technology conduct the nanoscale, which is about 1 to 100 nanometers. Nanoscience and nanotechnology employs the study and application of expectationally small things in other areas of science, including material science, engineering, physics, biology, and chemistry. The concept of nanotechnology and nanoscience started in December 29, 1959, when physicist Richard Feynman discussed a method in which scientists can direct and control individual atoms and molecules. In his talk, "There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom," during the American Physical Society meeting at the California Institute of Technology, the term nanotechnology was coined by Professor Norio Taniguchi a decade after the dawn of the use of ultra-precision machining. Nanotechnology refers to the science, engineering, and technology that are conducted at very small scale. We call this the nanoscale. The nanoscale range from the above 1 to 100 meters. To help you imagine how small that is, 1 nanometer is billion of a meter. So kung iisip natin ganun siya kaliit. At these nanoscale materials behave differently. Their color, strength, and even how they react can change. That's why scientists in engineering study nanotechnology to use these unique properties in different fields of science and technology. Nanoscales in nanotechnology involve the study and application of extremely small things in various areas like material science, engineering, engineering, physics, biology, and chemistry. In short, it's field where scientists manipulate atoms and molecules to create a new materials or improve existing one. So now let's talk about where it's all started. The concept of nanotechnology actually began a long time ago on December 29, 1959. It was first introduced by a famous physicist named Richard Feynman. During a meeting of American Physical Society at the California Institute of the Technology, he gave a talk titled "There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom." In this talk, he discussed a new idea the scientists could direct, control, the manipulate individual atoms and molecules to build new materials. At that time, it was just an idea, a dream, actually, because there were no much yet could work at such a small scale. But what amazing is that Feynman's idea became the foundation from what we now call nanotechnology. Then about a decade later, the term nanotechnology was first used by Professor Norio Taniguchi. He used this term to describe a new kind of manufacturing process called ultra-precision machining, where scientists could make materials with atomic levels accurate. So basically, Feynman started the idea, and Taniguchi gave it the name. To understand the nanoscale, it helps us visualize what nanoscales actually looks like. So as you can see, we have the different objects arranged by their size from the smallest to the largest. At the very left side, you can see the things like watermelon, molecules, benzene, in carbon nanotube. There are in the nanometer range around 0.1 to 10 nanometers. Then we have golden nanoparticles and viruses, which are slightly bigger, around 1 to 100 nanometers. So this image shows a scale of size from very small object like molecules to bigger things that we can actually see, like a watermelon. It helps us understand how big or small different materials are, especially those in nanoscales. At the left side, we see the smallest things measured in nanometers. For example, a water molecule is around 0.1 nanometer and a gold nanoparticle is around 10 nanometers. These belong to what we call nanomaterials, which means they are materials that are extremely small, between 1 and 100 nanometers in size. Next, moving to the middle part, the object gets a bit bigger. For example, a virus is about 1 micrometer, and a red blood cells is around 5 micrometer. Even though they still too small to see with our eyes, they are larger than nanoparticles. Then on the right side, we can see every object that are visible to us. A strand of hair is about 100 micrometers, equal about 1 centimeter. In watermelons around 10 centimeters. So overall, this chart shows how size changed from the nanoscales to the macro scales, nanoscales to the microscales. It helps us realize how tiny nanomaterials are compared to things we see daily. For example, if a human hair was as big as the earth, a nanoparticle would only be like a small marble. Now, why do we need to study nanotechnology? Because it has a huge potential to improve many aspects of our daily life. In medicine, nanotechnology helps making tiny drugs carriers that can target specific cells. For example, it can send medicine directly to cancer cells without harming the healthy ones. In electronics, it used to make smaller but more powerful devices like smartphones and computers. In environmental science, it used to create materials that can clean water or absorb pollution. So basically, nanotechnology helps make products and systems more efficient, effective, and sustainable. To summarize everything, nanotechnology is the science and engineering done at the nanoscales 1 to 100 nanometers. It deals with manipulating atoms and molecules to make new materials and technology. The concept started at 1959 with Richard Feynman's idea. It was later named by Norio Taniguchi. Materials behave differently at nanoscales, and that's what makes nanotechnology so special. And lastly, it has many applications in medicine, electronic, environment, and more. In short, nanotechnology is a field that proves that small things can make a bigger difference. So that's all for my discussion about the introduction of nanotechnology.
So I'm the next reporter. My name is Jan Jesper O. Malasarte, and I will discuss how small is a nanoscale. So a nanometer is a billionth of meter. The illustration shows how small nanoscale is compared to other particles or materials. Manipulation of nanomaterials needs an adept understanding of their types and dimension. The various types of nanomaterials are classified according to their individual shapes and size. So, how to view nanomaterials? Scientists use special types of microscope to view minute nanomaterials. During the early 1930s, scientists used electron microscope and field microscope to look at the nanoscale. The scanning, tunneling microscope, and automatic force microscope are just among the modern and remarkable advancements in microscopy. So the nanoscales refers to a world so small that we cannot see it without our naked eyes or even with regular microscope. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. so tiny that thousands of nanometers could fit across width of a single human hair. This shows how incredibly small nanomaterials are. So to study and understand these tiny materials, scientists use special microscopes such as the electron microscope, scanning, tunneling microscope, and atomic force microscope. These advanced tools allow them to see, measure, and even manipulate materials at the atomic level. Nanomaterials may be invisible to us, but they have a big impact on their daily lives. They are found in sunscreen that protect our skin, sports equipment that is lighter and stronger, clothes that resist water and stains, and even in medicine where nanoparticles help treat diseases like cancer more effectively. So overall, the study of nanomaterials reminds us that small things can make a big difference by understanding and using materials at the nanoscale. Scientists and engineers are shaping a smarter, safer, and more advanced future for everyone. So, these are the type of microscope. So first, electron microscope. German engineers Ernst Ruska and Max Knoll built the first electron microscope during the 1930s. This type of microscope utilizes a particle beam of electrons to light up a specimen and develop a well-manifold image. So the second one is atomic force microscopes. It was first developed by Gerd Bennig, Calvin Keith, and Christoph Gerber in 1986. It makes use of mechanical probe that gathers information from the surface of a material. The third one is scanning tunneling microscope. This special type of microscope enables scientists to view and manipulate nanoscale particles, atoms, and small molecules. In 1986, Gerd Bennig and Heinrich Roher won the Nobel Prize in Physics because of this invention.
Nanomanufacturing. It refers to the scaled-up, reliable, and cost-effective manufacturing of non-scale materials, structures, devices, and systems. It also involves research, improvement, and incorporation of processes for the construction of materials. Therefore, nanomanufacturing leads to the development of new products and improved materials. There are two fundamental approaches to the manufacturing, either bottom-up and top-down, according to NNI 2017. Nanomanufacturing is the process of producing materials, devices, or systems and nanoscale, typically between 1 and 100 nanometers. It involves using nanotechnology to design and control structures and properties at this tiny scale to create new products with enhanced performance, such as stronger materials, faster electronics, or targeted drug delivery system. For example, making nano-sized transistors in computer chips, producing nanoparticles used in sunscreen or medicine, creating carbon nanotubes for lightweight, strong materials. Bottom-up fabrication. It is a method of creating nanomaterials where the structures are built starting from the smallest particles, atoms or molecules, and assembled upward into larger and more complex materials. In simple terms, it starts from small to big by joining tiny building blocks together. Example for this: imagine you're building a house using Lego blocks. Instead of carving the house out of this large stone, you start with small pieces and connect them one by one until you form the complete structures. In nanotechnology, this is similar to how scientists form materials at the nanoscale. For instance, self-assembly. Molecules automatically organize themselves from form nanostructures, such as carbon nanotubes or quantum dots. Chemical vapor deposition or CVD, a process used to create 100 films or coating, commonly used in microchips and solar panels. So in short, bottom-up fabrication is building from the smallest component to larger structures, using chemical or physical processes to create precise and efficient nanomaterials.
So, I will discuss the top-down fabrication, and my name is Emil Ian Bimorana. So, first is, it trims down large pieces of materials into nanoscale. So, this process needs larger amounts of materials and discards excess raw materials. So, these are new approaches to the assembly of nanomaterials based from the application of principles. In top-down and bottom fabrication, so first is deep pen lithography. So this method in which the tip of an atomic force microscope is dipped into a chemical fluid and then utilized to write on a surface, like an old-fashioned ink pen onto paper. So, ang deep pen lithography daw po ay isang technique sa paggawa ng nanoscale patterns gamit po ang isang napakaliit na pen o stylus. So, in this process daw po ay tiny tip ng pen ay parang dinidip sa isang ink o chemical solution. Tapos ito daw po ay dinideliberate na inilalapat sa surface po ng isang material. So, it is like for writing using a ball pen, pero sa napakaliit na sukat. Kaya pwedeng gumawa ng very detailed o precise pattern sa nanoscale. So, next po ay self-assembly. So, it depicts an approach wherein a set of components join together to mold an organized structure in the absence of an outside direction. So, dito naman daw po ay ginagamit po ito sa pag-assemble ng nanomaterials at paggawa ng mga microstructures sa mga scientific at industrial applications tulad ng paggawa ng sensors, microelectronics o biomedical devices. And next po ay chemical vapor deposition. So it is a procedure wherein chemicals act in response to form very pure high-performance films. So it's like puzzle pieces na kusang nafi-fit sa tamang lugar dahil may natural po na attraction o chemical properties sila na nagpupush para magbuo ng organized na pattern o kaya structure. So, next po ay nano-imprint lithography. So, it is a method of generating nanoscale attributes by stamping, printing them onto a surface. So, nanotechnology daw po ay ginagamit ang self-assembly para gumawa po ng complex na nanomaterials at devices na mas mabilis at efficient. So, dahil hindi na po kailangan isa-isang ayusin ang bawat bahagi. And next po ay molecular beam epitaxy. So, it is one manner for depositing extremely controlled this thin film. So, ang chemical vapor deposition or CVD, nagpo-process kung saan ang mga gas phase like chemical compounds ay ginagamit para bumuo ng manipus na coating sa ibabaw ng isang solid material. So, ginagamit ang CVD sa paggawa ng high-quality thin films para po sa electronics. So, semiconductor devices, solar cells, and other advanced materials. Halimbawa po nito ay ang paggawa po ng silicon dioxide layer o sa ibabaw ng silicon wafer para po sa computer chips. So, ang nanoimprint lithography ay isang technique sa paggawa po ng napakaliit na pattern o structures sa surface ng material gamit ang isang model or stencil. So, sa prosesong ito po ay may hard mold na may mga nanoscale na design na ini-imprint sa isang soft materials gaya po ng polymer ng nasa ibabaw na substrate. So kapag tumigas na ang material, tinatanggal ang mold at nananatili ang exact pattern sa surface. Ito ay mabilis, mura at may high resolution kaya madalas itong gamitin in making microchips like nano devices at iba pang electronics. So example po nito ay isang stamping o pagpiprint gamit ang mold sa paggawa ng nanoscale pattern. So next po ay molecular beam epitaxy. So it is one manner for depositing extremely controlled thin films. So molecular beam po ay isang highly controlled method for growing very thin layers of crystals like atom by atom on a substrate surface. So MBE ay isang widely used in research and sa pag-manufacture po ng advanced semiconductor devices such as lasers, transistors, and quantum wells. So it's in simple terms po, ang MBE daw po ay katulad ng maingat na pag-spray ng atoms sa surface para makabuild po ng layer by layer para makagawa po ng perfect crystal structures. So next naman po ay roll-to-roll processing. So it is a high-volume practice for constructing nanoscale devices on a roll of ultra-thin plastic or metal. So roll-to-roll processing ay isang manufacturing technique kung saan flexible materials gaya ng plastic material, foil, or papel ay iniikot mula sa isang malaking roll like spool po. So dumadaan po sa iba't ibang proseso gaya ng printing, coating, o laminating. Tapos niro-roll muli sa kabilang dulo. Parang tape o film na iniikot habang pinoproseso ng tuloy-tuloy, mabilis at efficient. So para makagawa ng malalaking volume na produkto gaya ng flexible electronics, solar cells o printed circuits. So in simple words po ay roll-to-roll processing ay continuous na pag-roll ng material habang pinoproseso po para sa mass production. So last po ay is atomic layer epitaxy. So it is a means for laying quantum thick layers on a surface. So ito po ang isang process ng paglago ng thin film sa atomic scale layer by layer. So ginagamit ito para gumawa ng ultra thin, uniform at precise na coating sa mga semiconductor and electronics at iba pang advanced materials.
So I am the next reporter. I am Shanella Maytolop and I will discuss the distinct features of nanoscale. Nanotechnology involves operating at a very small dimension. It allows scientists to make use of the exceptional optical, chemical, physical, mechanical, and biological qualities of materials of that small scale. NN1 2017. The following are distinct features of nanoscale. So number 1, scale at which much biology occurs. Various activities of the cells take place at the nanoscale. The deoxyribone acid or DNA serve as a genetic material of the cell and it's only about 2 nanometer in diameter. Furthermore, the hemoglobin that transports oxygen to the tissues throughout the body is the 5.5 nanometer in diameter. So, ibig sabihin, sa sobrang liit ng sukat na ito, ang mga scientists ay kayang pag-aralin at baguhin ang mga bagay sa molecular o cellular level. Dito nagsisimula ang maraming medical at biological discoveries tulad ng develop ng nanomedicine na ginagamit para ma-deliver ng gamot diretso sa cells. Sa nanoscale, mas maiintindihan ng mga scientifico kung paano gumagana ang katawan sa pinakamaliit na antas. Kaya nakakatulong ito sa pag-advance ng healthcare at biotechnology. So number 2, scale at which quantum effects dominate properties of materials. Particles which dimension of 1 to 100 nanometer have properties that are significantly discrete from particles of bigger dimension. Quantum effects direct the behavior and properties of particle in size scale. The properties of materials are highly dependent on the size. So halimbawa, kapag ang isang metal ay nasa nanoscale na maaaring magbago ng electrical o optical properties, ang isang material na dati ay hindi conductive ay maaaring maging conductor o ang kulay nito ay pwedeng mag-iba depende sa laki ng particles. Dahil dito, napakahalaga ng quantum effects sa nanotechnology kasi dito nakabase ang paggawa ng mga microchips, quantum dots, and mga nanoparticles na ginagamit sa electronics, medicine, at energy devices. Ang size mismo ng particle ang nagdidikta ng ugali nito, hindi lamang kung anong material siya gawa. So, let's proceed. The number 3 po is nanoscale materials have a larger surface area that similar masses of larger scale materials. As we increase the surface area appear mass of a particular material, a greater amount of the material comes in the contact with another material and affects its activity. So, dito naman po, ang pinakamalaking surface area ay sobrang kapikapanabang sa chemical reaction. So, halimbawa po, sa paggawa ng catalyst or mga substance nang magpapabilis ng chemical reaction. Mas epektibo ang mga nanoparticles dahil mas marami silang surface kung saan pwedeng mangyari ang reaction. Sa simpleng termino, mas maliit pero mas aktibo. Ang nanoscale material dahil dito, ginagamit sila sa larangan ng energy storage or battery efficiency, water purification, drug delivery, at environment protection.
So I'm the next reporter. So I'm Romana Cervantes, and I will discuss the government funding for nanotechnology in different countries during 2005. So number 1, U.S. National Nanotechnology Initiative. The best known and most founded program is the National Nanotechnology Initiative of the United States. The NNI was established in 2001 to coordinate U.S. federal nanotechnology R&D. The NNI budget in 2008 and 2009 were $1.4 billion and $1.5 billion respectively. In United States, nanotechnology is strongly supported by government through the National Nanotechnology Initiative. This program was established in 2001 to coordinate federal research and development on nanotechnology. The U.S. government invested huge amounts, about $1.4 billion in 2008 and $1.5 billion in 2009, to support nanotech innovation in medicine, electronics, energy, and materials. So first we have the United States. The U.S. government created the national, to make sure different agencies work together in advancing nanotech research. This program received billions of dollars every year, showing how serious they are in developing nanotech for national progress. So number 2, European Commission. In February 2008, the EC official launched the European Nanoelectronics Initiative Advisory Council, ENIAC. In Europe, the European Commission launched the European Nanoelectronics Initiative Advisory Council in 2008. Its goal is to strengthen Europe's position in nanotechnology, especially in the field of nanoelectronics, which focuses on creating smaller, faster, and more efficient. Electronic device. So next is the European Commission, 2008, which this show the Europe invest in smaller and smarter technologies to stay competitive in the global tech industry. So number 3, Japan Nanotechnology Research Institute under the National Institute for Advanced Industrial Science and Technology. Japan support nanotechnologies through the Nanotechnology Research Institute under the National Institute for Advanced Industrial Science and Technology. Japan focuses on for industrial innovation such as developing advanced materials, electronics, and environmental solutions. Japan also gives high importance to nanotech through its AIST, Nanotechnology Research Institute. Their project often focus on improving material and electronics, helping industry become more advanced and efficient. Number 4, Taiwan. Taiwan National Science and Technology Program for Nanoscience and Nanotechnology. Taiwan government support nanotech through a national program dedicated to nanoscience and nanotechnology. This program funds research in universities and industrial, particularly in semiconductors and electronics, where Taiwan is wood leader. Taiwan focuses in funding electronics and research. This is why Taiwan remains one of the top producers of microchip in the world. Number 5, India Nanotechnology Research and Education Foundation. So, India established the Nanotechnology Research and Education Foundation to promote both education and innovation in nanotech. The program supports universities and students in conducting nanotech research. Their Nanotechnology Research Education Foundation helps train students and researchers to strengthen the country's scientific community. Number 6, China. National Center for Nanoscience and Technology. China National Center for Nanoscience and Technology, NCNST, was formed to lead the country research in nanomaterials and nanomedicine. The Chinese government invests heavily in this field to boost innovation and manufacturing. China has its own National Center of Nanoscience and Technology, where they explore nanomaterials and nanomedicine. This is part of their goal to become a global leader in advanced technology. So number 7, Israel. Israel National Nanotechnology Initiative. Israel supports nanotechnology through the Israel National Nanotechnology Initiative, INNI. Their government collaborates with universities and private industries to apply nanotech in medicine, defense, and agriculture. So, they use nanotech in healthcare, defense, and even agriculture, proving the nanotechnology can benefit many sectors. So number 8, Australia. Australian Office of Nanotechnology. Australia managed nanotech program through the Australian Office of Nanotechnology, which ensure that nanotech research align with national goals such as sustainability, health, and environment protection. Lastly, Australia coordinates its nanotech effort through the Australian Office of Nanotechnology. Their projects often focus on sustainability and health, showing their commitment to safe and responsive nanotech use.
So, I'm the next reporter. My name is Maureen Suzanne Velasco, and I'm here to continue the discussion about government funding for nanotechnology in different countries by Direct Year 2005. So, number 9, Canada or the National Institute for Nanotechnology or NINT. So, sa Canada, seryoso talaga ang gobyerno pagdating sa nanotechnology. So, meron silang institution na tinatawag na National Institute for Nanotechnology or NIT na itinayo sa tulong ng gobyerno, National Research Council, at University of Alberta. So, ang layunin ng NINT ay mag-develop ng mga makabagong technology gamit ang nanoscience o siyensang nag-aaral ng mga sobrang liit na particles. So, pinupundohan ito ng gobyerno para makatulong sa iba't ibang industriya katulad ng medisina, enerhiya, at electronics. So, halimbawa, sa medical field, ginagamit ang nanotechnology para sa targeted drug delivery. So, ibig sabihin, diretso sa sakit, dadalhin ang gamot. Sa energy, ginagamit ito para maging epektibo ang mga solar panels at fuel cells. So, sa madaling sabi, gusto ng Canada na maging leader of innovation, kaya todo ang suporta nila sa research, university projects, or partnership sa mga kumpanya. So, number 10, the South Korea or the Korea National Nanotechnology Initiatives. So, ang South Korea naman ay kilala sa pagiging high-tech, kaya hindi rin sila nagpapahuli sa nanotechnology. So, may mga programa silang tinatawag na Korea National Nanotechnology Initiatives, kung saan sama-samang nagtutulungan ang gobyerno, mga university, at mga company. Pinupondohan ito ng Ministry of Science and ICT. At sinusuportahan din ng Korea Institute Science and Technology or KIST. Ang focus nila ay gumawa ng nanoelectronics, nanomaterials, or nanobiotechnology. Mga bagay na like paggawa ng smartphones, semiconductors, at mga makabagong medical na devices. Malaki ang investment ng gobyerno dito kasi alam nila na ang future ng economy nila ay nasa technology. So, gusto rin nilang siguraduhin na patuloy silang magiging global leader sa mga produktong high-tech tulad ng Samsung at LG. So, kung familiar kayo sa Samsung or LG, ang South Korea ang gumagawa. And sa madaling salita, ang South Korea ay ginagamit ang nanotechnology para mas mapabilis at mapahusay ang kanilang mga industry at maprotektahan ang kalikasan. So, the next one is number 11, Thailand, or the National Nanotechnology Center or Nanotech, or NANOTEC, Nanotech. So, sa Thailand, ang pangunahing institution para sa nanotechnology ay ang National Nanotechnology Center or Nanotech nga, na bahagi ng National Science and Technology Development Agency or NSTDA. Ito ay pinupunduhan ng gobyerno para mapalakas ang research at innovation sa bansa. So, ang focus nila ay kung paano magamit ang nanotechnology sa mga practical na bagay tulad ng agriculture, food safety and environment at health. So, for example, nakagawa sila ng nanofertilizers para mas mapalago ang pananim at nanomembranes para mas malinis na tubig. Dahil dito, mas natutulungan nila ang mga local na community. Bukod sa research, nagbibigay din sila ng training at scholarship para sa mga estudyanteng gustong mag-specialize ng nanotechnology. For the whole, gusto ng Thailand na maging self-reliant o hindi umaasa sa ibang bansa pagdating sa technology. So, gamit ang nanotech bilang tulay papunta sa mas maunlad na ekonomiya. Yun ang gustong iparating ng Thailand. Kaya sila gumawa ng sarili man nila kasi gusto nilang maging self-reliant sila, hindi umasa sa gawa ng ibang bansa. Kumbaga, mas maganda. So, number 12, last, Malaysia. So, the National Nanotechnology Initiatives or the NNI. So, sa Malaysia, mayroon ding National Nanotechnology Initiatives or NNI na pinapangunahan ng gobyerno sa tulong ng Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation or MOSTI or the MOSTI. So, ang layunin nila na gawing knowledge-based economy ang bansa. Ibig sabihin, ang kaalaman at teknolohiya ang magiging puhunan nila para pag-unlad. So, ang mga proyekto nila ay kadalasang tungkol sa electronics, renewable, energy, textile, at medicine. So, may mga programa rin sila na para tulungan ang mga negosyong gustong gumamit ng nanotech sa kanilang produkto. So, isa sa mga ahensyang katuwang dito ay ang Nano Malaysia brand, ay Nano Malaysia Berhad, na tumutulong para maging tunay na negosyo o produkto ang mga research. So, gusto ng Malaysia na maging leader sa Southeast Asia pagdating sa nanotechnology. So, kaya todo rin ang kanilang investment sa mga laboratory, training programs, at research facilities. So, sa madaling salita, ang lahat ng ito ay nagpapakita ng napakahalaga ng gobyernong sumuporta para umunlad ang nanotechnology. So, sa Canada, ang focus nila ay innovation at sustainability. So, sa South Korea naman, ang target nila ay para maging high-tech leader sa mundo. And sa Thailand, ginagamit ito para sa kapakanan ng mga mamamayan at kalikasan. So, parang eco-friendly. Parang gagawin nilang eco-friendly yung nanotechnology. So, sa Malaysia, naniniwala silang ang kaalaman at teknolohiya nakasalalay ang kinabukasan. So, kumbaga, ang nanotechnology ay hindi lang tulad na maliliit na bagay. Ito ay malaking hakbang para mas maunlad, mas matalino, at mas makabagong mundo. So, the next slide is possible application of nanotechnology in the Philippines. So, number 1 is the ICT and semiconductors. So, sa panahon ngayon, halos lahat ng bagay may kinalaman sa technology. Cellphone, laptop, internet, iPad, watch, mga appliances, TV, and ano pa ba? Microwave, refrigerator, at kahit sa paaralan o trabaho, halos lahat ay digital na. Kung mapapansin nyo, di po ba? Pero sa likod ng lahat ng makabagong gadgets na ito, may napakahalagang papel ang nanotechnology. Lahat sa larangan ng ICT or Information and Communication Technology at semiconductors. So, ang ICT ay tumutukoy sa paggamit ng mga technology para sa communication, information, at connection ng mga tao. Samantala, ang semiconductors naman ay ang mga materialis na ginagamit sa paggawa ng mga microchips, processors o iba pang electronic components na bumubuo ng mga cellphones, computer, o iba pang gadgets. Kasi kung wala ang semiconductors, hindi gagana ang kahit anumang gadgets na gugustuhin mo. So, wala ring cellphone or internet o mga gadget na ginagamit natin araw-araw kung wala ang semiconductors. So, ngayon, dito pumapasok ang nanotechnology. Ang nanotechnology ay agham na tumatalakay sa mga bagay o materyales na napakaliit, sukat na nanometer lamang o 1 bilyon na bahagi ng 1 metro. Sa sobrang liit ng mga ito, nagkakaroon ng kakaibang katangian ang mga materyales tulad ng mas mataas na conductivity, mas matibay na istruktura, o mas mahusay na paggalaw ng kuryente. Dahil dito, malaking tulong ang nanotechnology sa paggawa ng maliliit pero mas makapangyarihang semiconductors. So, halimbawa, kung dati ay malalaki at mababagal ang mga computer, ngayon ay kaya ng isang maliit na smartphone ang halos lahat ng ginagawa ng dating desktop computer. Kung mula sa pag-e-edit ng video sa desktop, kayang makagawa ng pag-e-edit sa cellphone, o kaya mula sa pag-e-edit ng video hanggang sa paglalaro ng high-end games, or ito yung nanotechnology hanggang sa nagpapaliit sa laki ng mga transistors, ang mga maliliit na bahagi sa loob ng chip ay nagkokontrol ng kuryente. Ang mas maliit na transistor ay nangangahulugang mas mabilis at mas energy efficient na devices. So, sa Pilipinas, malaking potential ang nanotechnology sa ICT at semiconductor industry. Isa ito sa mga pinakamalakas na sektor ng ating ekonomiya dahil malaking kumpanya sa bansa ang gumagawa o nag-assemble ng semiconductor product na ini-import sa ibang bansa. Kaya kapag nagsimula tayong gumamit ng nanotechnology sa local research, maaari tayong makagawa ng sarili nating advanced chips at hindi lamang basta nag-a-assemble ng parts galing abroad. And bukod pa rito, may mga posibilidad din na magamit ng nanotechnology para ang mas mabilis na internet at mas ligtas na communication. Then, sa mga bagong research, ginagamit ang mga nanomaterials tulad ng graphene at carbon nanotubes para sa mga super fast data transmission cables. Kung magagamit natin ito dito sa Pilipinas, baka dumating ang panahon na dito tayo magreklamo sa mabagal na wifi. Kasi 'di ba, karamihan sa atin nagrereklamo sa mabagal na wifi kasi di tayo makasend. Yun. Ang isa pang maganda sa nanotechnology ay nakakatulong ito sa energy, efficiency ng mga devices. So, halimbawa, ang mga bagong nanotransistors ay nangangailangan ng mas kaunting kuryente para gumana. Kaya nakakatipid sa energy at nakakatulong din sa kalikasan. So, isipin mo kung lahat ng cellphone at computer ay gumagamit ng nanotech chips, gaano kaya kalaki ang matitipid sa enerhiya sa buong mundo? So, gaanong energy yung masisave natin kung lahat tayo gumagamit na ng nanotech chips? So, sa education naman, malaking tulong din ito kung matuturuan ang mga kabataan ng basic nanotechnology. Maari silang maging future innovators sa ICT field. Maraming bansa ang naglalagay ng pondo para sa research tungkol dito. At gagawin din ito ng Pilipinas. So, maaari tayong makipagsabayan sa global technology race. So, for example, sa mga university, pwede magsimula ang mga proyekto tulad ng paggawa ng nanosensors para sa mobile devices o nanocoating na nagpapahaba ng buhay ng electronic parts. May mga bansang gumagamit ng nanotechnology para mapatibay ang mga touchscreens at mapaganda ang resolution ng camera lenses. O, di ba? Parang iPhone 13 lang ang datingan. Kaya posible ring makagawa ng mga Pilipino ng homegrown innovation kung mabibigyan ng sapat na suporta. So, sa mas malawak na concept, ang paggamit ng nanotechnology sa ICT at semiconductors ay hindi lamang tungkol sa gadgets o bilis ng internet. Isa rin ito paraan para mapabuti ang ekonomiya, mapalago ang industriya, at madagdagan ang trabaho para sa mga Pilipino. So, kapag mga local na kumpanya na marunong gumawa ng nanotech-based products, mas tataas ang demand para sa mga engineer, scientist, at technicians. Isipin mo rin kung gaano kalaki ang epekto nito sa araw-araw na buhay. So, mas mabilis ang online class, mas stable ang communication apps, mas matibay na devices, at murang technology. Ito ang mga konkretong benepisyo ng nanotechnology sa ICT. Ginagawa nitong mas konektado, mas efficient, at mas advanced ang ating bansa. So, ang nanotechnology sa science, ICT at semiconductors ay parang invisible na tulong na nagpapalakas sa lahat ng teknolohiya ginagamit natin. So, sa pamamagitan nito, naging mas maliit pero mas matalino ang mga makina. Kung patuloy ito susuportahan ng gobyerno at mga paaralan, malaki ang posibilidad na sa hinaharap, ang Pilipinas ay hindi lamang tagagamit ng teknolohiya, kundi tagalikha rin. So, number 2 is the health and medicine. So, isa sa pinaka-importanteng gamit ng nanotechnology ay sa kalusugan at medisina. So, sa larangang ito, malaking tulong ang mga maliliit na particles na tinatawag na nanoparticles sa paggamot, diagnosis, at pag-prevent ng mga sakit. Dahil sa sobrang liit ng mga ito, mas maliit pa sa cells, kaya nilang makapasok sa katawan ng tao at magdala ng gamot o impormasyon sa eksaktong part ng katawan na kailangan. So, halimbawa, sa paggamot ng cancer, imbis na buong katawan ang tatamaan ng chemotherapy, ginagamit ang nanotechnology para diretsong madala ang gamot sa cancer cells lang. Hindi madamay yung mga good cells na tinatawag natin. Ang tawag dito ay targeted drug delivery. So, parang sa pamamagitan nito, ang gagamutin lang kumbaga yung kung saang part lang ng katawan natin yung infected. Then, sa ganitong paraan, mas mabilis ang paggaling at mas kaunti ang side effect tulad ng pagsusuka o panghihina. Like, ginagamit din ang nanotechnology sa paggawa ng diagnosis tulad diagnostic tools o mga devices na kayang makakita ng sakit. Kahit pinakaunang yugto pa lamang, halimbawa ang mga nanosensors na pwedeng mag-detect ng virus o bacteria para bago pa man lumala ang karamdaman. Kung ganito ang teknolohiya sa Pilipinas, mas mapapadali ang diagnosis at paggamot, lalo na ang mga karaniwang sakit dito tulad ng tuberculosis, dengue, at diabetes. Sa medical equipment, ginagamit din ang nanotechnology para gawing advanced at mas accurate ang mga makina. For example, sa imaging machines tulad ng MRI o CT scan, ginagamit ang nano-based contrast agents para mas malinaw ang larawan sa loob ng katawan. Kung titingnan sa mas malawak na perspektibo or perspective, mapapalaki ng maitutulong nito sa Pilipinas? Maari sa mga Pilipino, ang hirap magpagamot dahil mahal ang hospital bills at gamot. Kapag na-develop ito or kapag na-develop dito ang nanomedicine, maaring bumaba ang presyo ng gamot at tumaas ang kalidad ng healthcare. Sa mga research center at university, maaari ring magsagawa ng mga proyekto tungkol sa nano-drug delivery, nano-vaccines, at bio-nanomaterials. Kapag sinuportahan ito ng gobyerno, posible tayong makagawa ng sariling technology at hindi lang aasa sa mga imported medical products na inaangkat ng gobyerno natin sa ibang bansa. So, ang nanotechnology sa health at medicine ay parang small but mighty. Maliit na particle pero malaki ang nagagawa. Ito ang susi para magkaroon ng mas mabilis, mas mura at mas epektibong sistema ng kalusugan sa Pilipinas. So, number 3, the energy. Sa usapin naman ng energy, malaking tulong din ang nanotechnology. Isa sa mga pangunahing problema ng Pilipinas ay ang mataas na presyo ng kuryente at ang kakulangan sa malinis na energy source. Dito pumapasok ang papel ng nanotechnology para gawing mas efficient at eco-friendly ang paggamit ng energy. So, una, ginagamit ang nanotechnology sa solar energy. So, sa tulong ng mga nanomaterials tulad ng quantum dots at nanocrystal, mas nagiging sensitibo ang mga solar panels sa liwanag ng araw. Ibig sabihin, mas maraming energy ang nakukuha kahit mahina ang araw or mahina ang sikat ng araw. Kapag nagawa ito sa murang halaga, mas madali itong maitupad sa mga bahay at paaralan sa Pilipinas. Pangalawa, ginagamit din ito sa paggawa ng mas matibay at mas matagalang baterya. Ang mga nanostructured electrodes ay kayang mag-imbak ng mas maraming kuryente. Kaya mas matagal gamitin ang mga cellphone, laptop, at electric vehicle. Kahit hindi natin sila i-charge, magagamit natin sila for a long time. Hindi yung very long time. Yung matagalan lang natin siya magagamit. For example, mga 2 to 3 days. Okay na yon, matagal na siya. Then kung magagamit ito sa mga pampublikong sasakyan, malaking tulong ito sa pagbabawas ng pollution. So pangatlo, nakakatulong din ang nanotechnology sa paggawa ng mas efficient na fuel cells. Ang mga ito ay parang alternative source ng energy sa mas malinis at hindi gumagamit ng fuels. Bukod dito, pwede rin gamitin ang nanotechnology sa pagtitipid ng energy. For example, ang paggawa ng mga building materials na may nano-coating para hindi gaanong uminit sa araw, kaya mas kaunting kuryente ang kailangan para sa aircon. And kung susuportahan ng gobyerno ang mga gantong projects, mas makakatulong ito para bumaba ang presyo ng kuryente, mabawasan ang pollution at mapalawak ang paggamit ng renewable energy. So, sa hinaharap, magiging mas self-sufficient sa energy ang Pilipinas. At dito, nanotechnology ang isa sa mga magiging susi. And number 4, ang agrikultura ay isa sa pinakamahalagang sektor sa Pilipinas. Kaya napakalaki rin ng potential ng nanotechnology dito. Maraming paraan kung paano ito makakatulong sa pagpapataas ng ani, pagprotekta sa pananim, at pagpapanatiling ligtas ng pagkain. So, una, may mga nano-fertilizer at nano-pesticides na kaya maglabas ng tamang dami ng nutrients o chemical depende sa pangangailangan ng halaman. Then, dahil dito, mas tumataas ang ani at mas kaunting chemical ang nasasayang kaya mas ligtas sa kapaligiran. Then, pangalawa, gumagamit dito ang nanosensors para ma-detect agad kung may peste o kulang na sustansya ang lupa. For example, kung may problema sa moisture o acidity ng lupa, agad itong makikita ng nanosensors para maagapan ng magsasaka or ng mga farmers. Then, pangatlo, sa food industry, ginagamit ang nanotechnology sa packaging. Ang mga nano-coating na nakakatulong para hindi madaling mapanis o masira ang pagkain. Sa ganitong paraan, mas ligtas kainin ang mga produkto at mas mahaba ang shelf life nila. And makakatulong ang nanotechnology para maging mas moderno at produktibo ang magsasaka at para masiguro ang food security ng bansa. Sa tulong nito, mas magiging sustainable at environmentally friendly ang agrikultura ng Pilipinas. So, last but not the least, the environment. So, isa sa pinakamahalagang aplikasyon ng nanotechnology ay sa pangangalaga ng kalikasan. Dahil sa nanomaterials, nagiging possible ang paglilinis ng tubig, hangin at lupa mula sa polusyon. Una, ginagamit ng nanofilters para linisin ang maruming tubig o kaya nakakaya nitong tanggalin ang bacteria, viruses, or heavy metals na kaya nagiging malinis at ligtas inumin ang tubig. So, napakahalaga nito sa Pilipinas, lalo na ang mga lugar na kulang sa malinis at ligtas na supply ng tubig. Pangalawa, may mga nanomaterials na ginagamit sa air purification. Kayang salain ng mga ito ang mga nakakalasong gas at alikabok sa hangin na malaking tulong sa mga syudad na mataas ang pollution. Pangatlo, ginagamit din ng nanotechnology sa pagtanggal ng oil spills at industrial waste sa dagat. Ang mga nano-absorbents ay nakakakuha ng langis o chemical nang hindi naapektuhan ang tubig o isda. So, bukod dito, pwedeng gamitin ang nanotech sa paggawa ng eco-friendly materials gaya ng biodegradable plastics at energy-saving construction supplies. Malaking tulong ang nanotechnology sa pagpapabuti ng kapaligiran, pagbabawas ng pollution at pagtulong sa kalikasan. Kapag ginamit natin ito ng tama, makakatulong ito sa layunin ng Pilipinas na magkaroon ng malinis, mas ligtas, at mas lunti ang bansa.
Nanotech Roadmap for the Philippines, funded by PCAS TRDBOST. So first is the ICT and semiconductors. So nanotechnology plays a vital role in improving the performance of electronic devices. So in this area, it focuses on creating smaller, faster, and more efficient computer chips and components. So this advancement helped boost the information and communication technology, or the ICT industry. So leading to smarter gadgets, stronger data storage, and better connectivity. Second is the health and medicine. So in health and medicine, nanotechnology is used to develop new ways to detect, treat, and prevent diseases. So examples include targeted drug delivery systems that attack only sick cells, faster diagnostic tools, and nanomaterial used for tissue repair or medical imaging. So these innovations aim to make healthcare more precise, effective, and less invasive. So third is the energy. So nanotechnology contributes to energy efficiency and sustainability. So it helps improve batteries, solar panels, and fuel cells by making them more powerful, durable, and affordable. So through nanomaterials, we can use energy more efficiently, which supports renewable energy development in the Philippines. So fourth is the food and agriculture. So, in food and agriculture, nanotechnology enhances food safety, crop protection, and productivity. So, it can be used in smart packaging that detects spoilage, nanofertilizers that release nutrients more effectively. So, and nanosensors that monitor soil conditions. So, these innovations aim to ensure food insecurity and sustainable farming practices. So, next is the environment. Nanotechnology offers solution to environmental problems by helping clean air, water, and soil. So, nanofilters and catalysts can remove pollutants and toxins more effectively. So, while nanomaterials can help recycle waste and monitor environmental conditions. So, environment supports a cleaner and more sustainable environment for future generations. So, health and environmental risk. So, while nanotechnology has many benefits, it also comes with potential risk. So, this area of the roadmap focuses on studying how nanoparticles affect human health and the environment. So, the goal is to establish safety standards and regulation to ensure that nanotech products are used responsibly and do not cause harm. Next is the nanometrology. So, nanometrology refers to the science of measuring materials at the nanoscale. So, this is essential for ensuring accuracy, consistency, and quality in nanotechnology, research, and production. So, the roadmap supports the development of advanced measurement tools and standards that can help the Philippines compete globally in nanotech innovation. So, last is the education and public awareness. So, this area emphasizes the importance of educating students, researchers, by promoting awareness and integrating nanoscience into the education system. The roadmap aims to inspire future scientists and ensure that Filipinos understand both the potential and the responsibility that come with nanotechnology. So, the next slide is the benefits and concerns of using nanotechnology. So, nanotechnology has various applications in different sectors of the society and environment. It is studied by Salamanca Buentello and others on 2005. So, they proposed an initiative called Addressing Global Challenges Using Technology to accelerate the use of nanotechnology to address critical sustainable development challenges. So, first is the nanotechnology is not a single technology, so it may become pervasive. Nanotechnology is not just one specific invention or device. It's a broad field that combines chemistry, physics, biology, and engineering to manipulate materials at the nanoscale. So it is because of its versatility, nanotechnology can be applied in almost every industry from medicine and electronics to agriculture and energy. So this means it has the potential to become pervasive or widely present in our everyday lives and technologies. So second is the nanotechnologies seeks to develop new materials with specific properties. So the main goal of nanotechnology is to create materials that have unique or enhanced characteristics, such as being stronger, lighter, more durable, or more conductive. So by controlling this structure at the atomic or molecular level. So for example, carbon nanotubes are incredibly stronger yet lightweight. So, and nanoparticles can be designed to deliver medicine directly to targeted cells. So, third is the nanotechnology may introduce new efficiency and paradigms which may make some natural resources and current practices uncompetitive or obsolete. obsolete. So, as nanotechnology advances, it can bring about new and more efficient ways of producing goods and energy. So, however, this also means that some traditional materials or industrial methods might become outdated or less useful. So, last is, it may be complicated to detect its presence unless one has the specialist tools of nanotechnology. So, because nanoparticles are extremely small, a billionth of a meter, they cannot be seen or detected with ordinary microscopes or human senses. So, specialized instruments like electron microscopes or atomic force microscopes are needed to observe and measure them. So, this makes monitoring and regulating nanomaterials more challenging, especially when assessing their safety of environmental impact.
Social and ethical consideration in conducting research on nanotechnology. So, number one question, who will benefit from it? On the other hand, who won't? Nanotechnology offers great benefits in the society, such as better health care, cleaner energy, and stronger materials. However, not everyone may benefit equally. Wealthier countries, corporations, and individuals with access to advanced technology may gain more, while poorer communities or developing nations could be left behind. Ethical research must aim to distribute the advantage of nanotechnology fairly. Number two question, for whom and what are your objectives for developing your product? So, when developing a nanotechnology-based product, researcher must clearly define their goals and who will benefit from the innovation. The objective should not only focus on profit or competition but also on improving people's lives, whether it's through enhancing medical treatments, protecting the environment, or promoting sustainable living. Number three questions. How will it affect social, economic, and political relationship? So, nanotechnology can reshape societies and economies by creating new industries and changing how resources are used. It might increase national competitiveness or alter labor markets as traditional jobs are replaced by technology-driven ones. Politically, countries that lead in nanotechnology could gain more influence. So, global cooperation and fair regulation are essential to prevent inequality or mis-issue. So, number four, what problem is your product trying to solve? So, every nanotechnology product should have a clear purpose, such as improving energy efficiency, curing diseases, or reducing pollution. Ethical research ensures that the product addresses real societal needs rather than creating unnecessary risks or widening social gaps. The ultimate goal should always be to solve problems that contribute to human well-being and environmental sustainability. So, number five, who will have access to it? Who will be excluded? Accessibility is a key ethical concern. While new technologies are often expensive at first, researchers and policymakers should strive to make them available to everyone, not just the wealthy or privileged. Ensuring equitable access means bridging the gap between rich and poor. Urban and rural areas, and developed and developing nations. So, number six, are there dangers involved with its development? including safety, health, pollution, and how can you minimize them? So, nanotechnology can pose risk to human health and the environment, especially when nanoparticles enter the air, water, or body without proper testing. To minimize these dangers, strict safety protocols, ethical reviews, and environmental assessment should be in place before mass production. Transparency and continuous monitoring are essential to ensure that innovation does not compromise safety. Number 7, who will own it? How can you assure access to it? So, ownership of nanotechnology products, whether by individuals, companies, or governments, raises questions about patents and control. To ensure fairness, intellectual property rights should balance innovation and accessibility. Collaboration among public, institutions, private companies, and research centers can help make nanotechnology available for the benefit of all, not just for profit.
When conducting a research on nanotechnology, it is very important to consider both social and ethical aspects of how it will affect people and the environment. First, we must ask who will benefit from this technology and who might not. Nanotechnology should aim to help all people, not just the wealthy or powerful. It should bring positive changes that improve the quality of life for everyone. On the other hand, researchers must also be aware of those who could be negatively affected, such as workers who might lose jobs due to automation, or communities that may not afford the technology. Next, it's essential to understand for whom and for what purpose the product is being developed. The main goal of creating nanotechnology should always focus on solving real-life problems and contributing to the welfare of society rather than serving personal or commercial gain. The objectives of any scientific development should be clear, honest, and aimed at promoting human and environmental well-being. Researchers must also examine how nanotechnology affects social, economic, and political relationships. While it can bring great improvements in medicine, energy, and agriculture, it can also cause social inequalities if only certain groups have access to it. Economically, it may open new industries and jobs, but could also replace traditional ones. Politically, it could strengthen national power, but also cause conflicts if used irresponsibly. Another ethical question is what problem the product is trying to solve. Every nanotechnology innovation should have meaningful purpose, such as curing disease, cleaning the environment, or improving sustainability. Creating technology without addressing our real problems waste resources and can even cause harm. We must also ask who will have access to nanotechnology and who will be excluded. It would be unfair if only developed countries or rich companies could use it while poor communities are left behind. Scientists and government should work together to ensure nanotechnology and to ensure equal access and affordability so that everyone can benefit from its advantages. Furthermore, we must not ignore the dangers involved in developing nanotechnology, such as potential harm to human health, pollution, or safety issues. Nanoparticles can be toxic or cause damage to ecosystems if not properly handled. To minimize risk, strict testing, environmental regulation, and responsible research must be implemented before releasing products to the public. Lastly, we must address the issue of ownership and access. If one company or nation owns all the rights to a nanotechnology invention, it could limit access and increase inequality. Fair ownership means balancing profit with public good through shared research, transparent policies, and global cooperation. In conclusion, these social and ethical considerations remind us that scientific progress, especially in nanotechnology, must always prioritize humanity, equality, and products to the public. Lastly, technology should never harm or exclude. Instead, it should be used as a powerful tool to build a safer, healthier, and more equitable world for everyone.
Lastly, the summary. So, nanotechnology is an advanced interdisciplinary field that encompasses science and technology that manufactures materials of great help to the improvement of various areas of societies, especially healthcare, environment, energy, food, water, and agriculture. It is field that need to be explored not only by own experts but also neophytes in order to advance our knowledge of science and technology, and more importantly, to help improve our quality of life. But before we engage in nanotechnology, we need to take into account the social, ethical, and environmental concerns of using such nanomaterials. So, nanotechnology is a modern and highly advanced field of science that combine different disciplines such as physics, chemistry, biology, and engineering to create and manipulate materials at an extremely small scale known as the nanoscale. At this tiny level, materials can gain new and special properties that are not seen at larger scales. This unique characteristic make nanotechnology very useful in improving many areas of human life and society. In healthcare, nanotechnology is used to develop new methods for detecting and treating diseases, creating more effective medicines, and even designing tiny devices that can operate inside the human body. In the environment, it can help clean polluted air and water, and in energy. It contributes to developing renewable and efficient energy sources such as better solar panels and battery. It also benefits agriculture by improving fertilizer and pest controls and safer food and water system. However, nanotechnology is not only for scientists and experts. It is a growing field that encourage both professionals and beginners to explore and learn. By studying nanotechnology, people can expand their knowledge of science and technology and contribute to solving global problems, making life more convenient, healthy, and sustainable. Despite its great potential, nanotechnology also raises several concerns before using or developing nanomaterials. People must carefully consider their social, ethical, and environmental impacts. For example, how will these materials affect human health and nature in the long term? Will everyone have equal access to the benefits of this technology, or are there any risks of misuse? Therefore, while nanotechnology promises many improvements to our quality of life, it must be used responsibly. Scientists, governments, and society should work together to ensure that its application is safe, fair, and beneficial for everyone.
So dito po nagtatapos ang aming discussion about the nano world. Thank you for listening.